Okay. Trying a couple things here. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. I was muted. I was trying to figure out how to get YouTube to go. So we're live on YouTube right now, I think. It looks like it. Let's see. How delayed is YouTube? YouTube is very delayed compared to most everything else. But that's okay. That's supposedly a link for the stream, theoretically. If that doesn't work, you can just search Useless Wizard on YouTube. In fact, there it is. I don't have any YouTube. I have one YouTube video up from 5 years ago, so it's not. Hey, Rickster, how are you doing? Good to see you. I hope your holidays are going okay, or your holiday week so far. We're doing some testing to see what is going on and like what YouTube looks like. YouTube streaming. Gentle Cats are okay. Stoli, thank you. Thank you for popping in there and confirming that that's working. Life goes pretty well. Life goes fairly well. Oh wait. Okay, so that's not as delayed. Okay, cool. We're just let's see. Thank you. Okay. Confirming that that's working. That sounds really hollow. Interesting. Yeah, YouTube is definitely, it definitely lags behind on a lot of things, but they've made massive improvements. So there's that. So we're going to be working on this Space Marine here and just testing chat and things like that. Now, question. I know on TikTok I've got my chat up top. I know TikTok has its own chat. I'm trying to see, is that readable? Any on Rickster, are you able to read the chat that's up next to my face at all? I'm just trying to figure out positioning, and I may not even be able to put it on. I may not even be able to leave it there, so people can see other platforms, but you can read it on PC. Okay. I'm more worried about mobile, so if you can, it might be too small. That's what I'm worried about. The names are cut off. Okay. Interesting. Okay, well, that's good. That's why we test. That's why we're testing. Yeah, I can see how the names are cut off in the preview. Okay. Well. Ooh, wow. I did not mean to move all of that. Oops, that's not what I wanted to grab either. There we go. If I move this over to here, it shouldn't cut off the names anymore. However, it's covering up my face even more. On phone, it's too small. Okay. So, let's see. We go down to here. We make it smaller, and then Increase the size. See, that's gonna cut off a lot more. Okay, let's see. This is why we're testing. This is not gonna be beautiful or anything like that. Text style. Font size. Ooh. Is it a little bit easier to read now? Hello, friends. Welcome on in. This is a test stream. We're testing a couple different things here, so it's not going to be as clean or as precise as it normally is. I say that as someone who's completely unprofessional about this. Much better. Twitch on laptop and YouTube on phone. Yeah, it's much better. Okay. Easier to read, but more is cut off. Yeah. It's gonna take some adjustment. See, I just hate how it's over my face. If I put it here... Okay, so what if I did this? So, I put this here, and then, let me edit it. Come on, bring it up. Let's see. That's a little bit better. So I still want to have the call out on TikTok that I want people to be able to ask me questions. But now it's gonna cut off more of the painting. It's gonna cover even more. I'm just not sure if I'm gonna be able to have this. God, I'm not. Let me grab the right thing. I'm just not sure if I'm gonna be able to have this on my TikTok feed. It may be too small. Just a heads up, this is completely, yeah, it's completely covering up everything, including, especially with the TikTok chat in place, it looks like. So I'll be able to see everyone's chat all in one place. But some platforms won't be able to see. Which is unfortunate. Yeah, it's just there's just not enough real estate. There's simply not enough real estate. Well, that's, you know, that's just kind of something you have to deal with. I wish I could feed this into the actual TikTok chat, but I don't believe it's doing that. Unless, because this is still going off the TikTok stuff is still. Oh no.
Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Precisely. Matt Yee. That is crazy.
Hi. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much for the raid. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, this is a test stream. I'm testing out some new stuff, including YouTube chat. So, there wasn't a whole lot planned for this. Hey, how are you doing, man? Welcome on in, everybody. My name is Useless Wizard. I am otherwise known as Ryan. I am a miniature painter who typically paints later at night on Tuesdays and Fridays, but I'm trying out some new stuff. I'm adding in YouTube Live and or YouTube streaming and some other stuff to try and just be on more platforms. So we're hanging out, and as part of this stream is I'm going to be working on the blade that this guy's drawing out. So this is what one of the completed minis looks like. This Space Marine with his crystalline blade. And so we're going to be doing that crystalline blade just here on the exposed areas for this Mark III Marine. So we're just hanging out and testing some stuff. Yeah, there is a cozy fire. I just want to give you all an official welcome to the Great Library of Magic. I am the librarian and caretaker here, so we are here in my study after hours. So think of it like office hours for a professor, but with a librarian who's also a useless wizard. I was kicked out of the Wizard School of Magic because I'm a useless wizard, and they didn't want me to go out into the rest of the world, so they stuck me down here in the Great Library to watch over it. So that's where we are. We're hanging out. We're talking about all kinds of nerdy stuff as nerdy people in libraries do, and we're going to be painting up some minis. So that's what we do. That's what we typically do. I also teach miniature painting. I travel out of the Great Library to a few different conventions. This next year, 2026, I will be for sure teaching at Adepticon. I may be teaching at Origins. I typically also teach at Gen Con, but that is up in the air whether or not I'm going to do that this year. So we're waiting on some things to develop on where I'm going to be teaching this year. But last year I taught at Adepticon, Origins, and Gen Con, and the year before that it was Origins and Gen Con. So, I'm really having a good time with all this. Mr. Winters is the best hair painter I know. Thank you, Matt. I very much appreciate that. I'm glad you're on the talk now and I can spam hearts. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, without the chat is better. Yeah, thank you, Ghost Cat. I appreciate the feedback. Easier. Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback. I'd like you guys on TikTok to be able to see what other people on Twitch and hopefully eventually YouTube, as people start watching over there, as they see, because I've got something that lets me see all of the chats all in one area, but TikTok, it's just pulling the chat from TikTok. It's not letting me, it's not pushing any of the chats to TikTok. So that is a-okay. It's just what we're going to have to deal with. I've cat themed stuff, but I like dogs. Hey, I like dogs. I like other people's dogs. Other people's dogs are great. So Matt, if you're still here, sorry I didn't ask this before, but how was your stream? What were you working on? Let's see. What was I using for? What was I using for this? For the blade. I'm trying to remember what color. I think it was white, white blue. Shot the minis for my commission. Oh, very cool. What commission is it? And I'm assuming you're talking about like you shot them with the airbrush, not you shot them with like a 12 gauge. That's my assumption, because that seems like it'd be a bad thing to do with a commission to hit it with a 12 gauge or any other rapid projectile. So we're just going to give the blade area a base coat of this white so that the pastel colors that I'm going to use show up well. But also this is kind of like this central color of the material. You don't want all color across a crystalline surface. You want something that represents the crystal clarity as well, but this just gives us a nice bright base coat, base color to do all of these other colors on. And then we're going to do underneath as well. And I'm going to drop my my brush, because as one does, it's not a complete painting session unless you drop your brush at least once. That's been my experience for time immemorial. I also now have a streak of paint on this black shirt. Fortunately, it is a cheap black shirt that I don't really care about. Don't paint in clothes that you care about. Generally speaking. You might be able to strip paint off of your miniatures, but stripping paint, acrylic paint out of clothing is a tad more difficult. Oh, you shot video. Got it. A tube shaped like a silencer was involved. That's fantastic. Figured photos. You are more correct. You were more correct. That did look 12, similar to a 12 gauge. I had the video stuff set up, but it's a World Eater's Army. Nice. That's awesome. Let's see. Went into a Warhammer shop because I wanted to get into building and painting, and they got to push a lot of stuff on me that I didn't see others using. Like what, Evil? I'd like to be able to maybe either explain maybe why he was doing it, or tell you, yeah, don't listen to that guy. It sounds like you didn't. But if you're looking for any direction, I can certainly affirm or maybe expand on what's going on there. But yeah, unfortunately, some game shop owners, whether they're Games Workshop shops or just friendly local shops, they're pretty bad about pushing stuff. You know, they're trying to make sales, things like that, which is understandable, but man, you really should only be pushing like the bare minimum, and then give really just like, yeah, you don't need this. It's helpful in these situations, but that's about it. Yeah, Blood Angels are awesome. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry here for a second, and let's take a look at this. So on the full shield, on the full sword, you can see that we've got our different colors here, and this is supposed to be a crystalline sword. I'm still working on making it, you know, getting it to look a little bit more like that. But this is the current thing we're doing. Here's another example. Here. So we're going from pink into purplish, if we've got purple, and then into the white, which the white is supposed to be kind of the clear or the color of the crystal itself, and then the rest of this is supposed to be like light refracting out like a prism, and then we go into blue and green and yellow up here. Let's see. So what we're gonna do on this sword is, because it's crystalline, and even if this was just metallic, we're not going to use the same like length of gradient. We're going to compress these colors into the area that the sword is, the area of the sword that is exposed here. So we're not just going to do purple all the way up, because the only reason we do purple all the way up until it goes to white is if this is the color of the actual sword. If like the sword's material was actually this color, it's not. This is a color of the light refracting out of the crystalline structure of the sword. That's what it's supposed to look like, right? Yeah, like a prism. So what we're gonna, hey, this Mechanic Games, how are you doing? Scab, thank you. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do pink and purple up to here, then we've got white in the middle, and then we'll go into our blue, most likely blue into yellow, because I want that transfer, and the green is really subtle. I'm not sure if we'll incorporate the green moving forward, but the blue to yellow, that should create kind of an artificial green in some of the glazing. So that might just happen naturally, so we'll probably cut out the green itself, especially in such a small length of sword, just to try to be a little bit more efficient and reasonably get these colors in there. So Let's see. Let's get our pink out. Would you use a varnish to make the sword more reflective, or just use white for the effect? I would just use white for the effect myself. There are plenty of people who will do like a varnish, like if they're doing eye lenses or other forms of lenses, they'll paint the lens and then they'll also do a varnish over it to make it look shiny. Same thing with like drool or blood, you know, they'll make it look shiny, and that works. That works. For me, it would work, but it's not going to contribute to the type of painting and the level of painting I'm trying to continue to work on, because with a higher level of control over the painting, I need to be able to control where the light and where the reflections are, and not rely on gloss. And this is a self-imposed limitation. Okay, this is nothing. Nobody else needs to do this. This is a self-imposed limitation because I am trying to master or have a much better understanding of how light reflects off of certain materials. So I could use gloss, but then that takes a lot of the work out because light's going to reflect off of that normally. I am trying to learn and figure out how to paint it to where light, where I'm causing the appearance of light to reflect off. So it's a self-imposed limitation. So that's why I won't use a gloss for any of this. For example, like here is a Chibi Marine that I just finished, and you can see that I'm on the lens, the eye lens here, because his lenses are bigger. I put in a point of reflection here and also one towards where his pupil is, and those are white points of reflection to show the glass, reflecting off of the glass. I could have just done gloss over it, right? And that would have done the same thing, but I wouldn't have learned more about painting reflective light. Let's see. Moto, is it better to play 40K or paint 40K? It really depends on your motivation. I used to play 40K. That's how I got started. Back in 5th edition, I played 5th and 6th edition a lot. 7th edition, I just kind of fell off of it. And I found that painting is better for my mental health. Or it really helps my mental health. It's not necessarily better than playing, but I feel more accomplished with painting than I do with playing. So that's what I ended up focusing on. Now, I think they're both awesome. Playing games and painting miniatures are both wonderful things that I definitely do as much as I can. But I find that 40K, the games are too long. I don't really like the rule set very much. The current rule set terribly. And the games just, even 2 hours is just, it's more time than I really want to spend, because it's either it's going to be 2 hours or it's going to be 4 hours. And I'd rather spend that time playing like 2 games of Warcry, or a more narrative game like Necromunda, or 3 games of Cyber Savage, or some of the other smaller games. So it really depends on what your friend group does, what you find to be fulfilling. Because if playing 40K is incredibly fulfilling to you, then absolutely, 100% play it. Play it. Don't hesitate. Go out. Balls to the wall. Enjoy yourself. I'm not going to tell you. I'm just telling you from my perspective. I find painting to be more satisfactory. And that's just because of the mental health benefits. It's like when you're painting and where you're doing art, you are the one that's in control. No one else is in control. There's no other expectations other than what you put on yourself. So I don't have a boss that I'm worried about. I don't have deadlines that I'm worried about unless I'm painting for a competition, in which case that's my choice. And so like it's all under my control. It's something that I get to determine what the urgency level is. No one else does. And that, so much of anxiety and stress is from the world that you don't feel like you have any control over or any influence in. And so I find painting and understanding that I am not answerable to anybody else, that is very centering and it's very relaxing. So that's my perspective on it. Does that make sense? Thank you for answering the question. You're welcome, Scab. For real. Okay, Evil, you said 3 types of the handle: starter set, ultimate starter set, every size of paintbrush. Yeah, no. No. Paint. There's nothing wrong with the painting handle. Painting handle is useful, but it is not necessary by any means. I have lots of painting handles. I have painting handles that I've made. I have painting handles that my friends have made out of like boat resin. I also have just wooden blocks that I get off of like just from like Home Depot or Amazon or something. There is a benefit to keeping your grubby little fingers and the finger oils off of your miniature, but it is not necessary. Okay, so I often just use bottle caps and poster tack for holding the miniature on stream, because a painting handle would be too big to show up on camera. The paints, yeah, the GW starter pack is not bad. GW starter pack is not bad at all. The starter pack that comes with miniatures is good. The starter pack that comes with all the tools is also good, because the tools can be pretty expensive. However, I would, if you want to start with the starter pack, I'd get the one with paints and a couple models. Let's see. Yeah, so I just get the paint or starter pack. Don't worry about the other brushes. Full disclosure, I don't like Games Workshop brushes. They're too soft. So the one that comes in the starter pack is going to be fine. It's going to be fine for starting out, but those are not brushes that I enjoy. When people start with miniatures, I will usually tell them cheap out on your brushes, because you can get good brushes cheap, but don't cheap out on paints. Paints, you want some higher quality paints, because because they're formulated for miniatures. They're formulated in a way that makes it easier to work with them. But brushes, I just get Golden Taklon brushes. So that's the bristle material. It's called Golden Taklon. It's a synthetic brush that you can get at like Fred Meyer's, Walmart. I buy packs of 144 of these off of Amazon, so that I have them for my classes, but I also go through them a lot, and they have a stiff bristle and they maintain a good point. Here's one that I haven't even used yet. So they come with that, and you've got a little extra hair here that I trim off. But this is what they look like. They're this color, and they come to a decent point, and they'll snap back to that point because the bristles are stiff. If your bristles are too soft, like squirrel hair or something like that, they won't snap back to a point very well, and you'll have to reshape them manually, which works for some people. It doesn't work for me. I don't like that. So yeah, the handle's not needed. The paint starter set is a decent starter set. The brushes don't do that. The ultimate starter set, that's just a bunch of models. Get with the painter starter set and use the models in there and practice with those a little bit before you buy anything else. Just stick with the starter pack paints, and then if you decide you want other paints, then you can buy single ones, certainly. But yeah, no, I wouldn't touch more than one of those, or two of those recommendations. Dr. Gruen, Cyber Savage, I've never heard of it. The Kickstarter just finished, and they're doing fulfillment this month. It'll be available for retail here in the Portland area, in January, and it was a game developed in Portland by a couple of guys. And think skirmish game where you're controlling generally about 3, maybe 4 models, but the universe is laser sorcery. So think He-Man or Thundercats, that kind of hyper advanced technology where you could pulp technology where you could be a blaster wielding Conan the Barbarian going up against cultists that are wielding magical daggers to stop a ritual, or you could be Buck Rogers with a couple of pistols going up against against a cybernetic lizard dude with a cannon or something like that. It's really kind of when I think about it. I think He-Man and Masters of the Universe. I think Thundercats. I think all of those like 90s and late 80s cartoons that are set in those kind of wildly fantastic universes. It's the same type of setting, and it is completely it is very, very low maintenance, low complexity, but a lot of fun. It's called Cyber Savage. You can look it up online. Somebody asking to multi-guest? No, that's not happening. Don't do that. Royal Paxton painted a really funny, cool Frankenshark mini. That's awesome. Army Painter does have a good starter set. Yes, Army Painter also has a good starter set, and their paints are really good now. Absolutely. Hey, Speed of Sound, how are you doing? Good to see you. Masters plus post attack on bottle caps for me. Sometimes I use the Game Envy handle that takes the regular bottle caps. Yeah, I also have Game Envy. It's good. I just don't use it in my painting handles on stream because they just eat up. They make it really difficult to hold on camera. Actually, here are some Cyber Savage minis. I did tell them I was going to paint these on stream, so I spent some time today assembling them. These are their matriarch models, so it's a bunch of like Amazonian women, like think She-Ra from He-Man. So this is one here, and I just finished assembling her, and we just started getting some mud on the bases, so I can put them on the bases here pretty soon, and then prime them, and they'll be ready to paint when I'm done with my Savage Stars mini. But so here's one here. So she's got this giant bladed paddle and a shield. We've got this one here. She's got a revolver rifle. And these were all sculpted by one of the two brothers who started the game here in Portland. Here is another little lady who's got a gigantic, terrifying cannon. And then I've got this one here who's got a scythe. So I would say this is probably a medium weapon. Some of the others are light weapons and heavy weapons. But these all look really, really cool. I've been looking at art of She-Ra and the other female members of He-Man, Masters of the Universe, because it has been forever since I've watched any of those. I've also been looking at color palettes from Thundercats and a bunch of those other shows to get kind of an idea of the kind of the color palette that's used for laser sorcery type of shows. Yeah, so we'll be painting them up hopefully in a couple of weeks, maybe sooner. But I gotta finish painting this guy first, because this is a Ravage Star mini from Mini Wargaming, and one of my buddies gave me this and asked me to paint it on stream. And so this is the guy we've been working on our normal streams. And our normal stream time is Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm streaming now because I'm testing the YouTube stream and the some of the chat features making sure that I know where they are, when I can read them, things like that. So we're definitely streaming at a different time than I normally stream. I'm normally at work right now, but I appreciate y'all hanging out and being here. Let's see. But yeah, so this guy's been a lot of fun. So obviously a lot of non-metallic metal on him. We're just trying to do it pretty quick on these, and still got a lot more to do as far as detail goes. But yeah, he's ended up looking pretty cool. He's pretty cool. So we've still got a few more streams with him to finish him up. But for this test stream, I wanted to work on this guy. I've been meaning to work on his sword for a while. So we might as well do that now, right? So during an unofficial stream. Love the 80s vibes of miniatures. Yeah, exactly. It's the 80s, early 90s cartoon kind of look of them. They look great. They're very cool. They're a lot of fun. I got to play in a tournament for Cyber Savage, just like well, not really a tournament. It was a 3-round demo event, or event up at Mindtaker Games up in Camas, Washington. I played that last Saturday, and it was a blast. I had a lot of fun. Where does my guy? So Mindtaker Miniatures has this huge bits bin, where it's just full of random parts of miniatures from all kinds of stuff. There's some Gunpla in there. There's Warhammer, Privateer Press, all kinds of different stuff there, because Mindtaker Miniatures is a dedicated secondhand miniatures retailer. That's what they do. They sell secondhand minis, and they are very successful at it. They have multiple staff now. They're very, very good at it. But what the Cyber Savage event was, go there, pay the $15 to play in the event, but you get to build a miniature out of the bits bin, and that's your character for the 3 rounds. And then you've got the randomly generated rules for the character. So you roll the randomly generated character, and then you take those attributes and that weapon type and stuff, and then you go to the bits bin and then you build the mini. And it was awesome. Do I have the mini nearby? No, he's out in my living room. I'll grab him in just a second. I want you guys to see it because it looks awesome. His name is Laser Fist. Yeah, let me go grab that. Let me go. Yeah, the bin is great, right? All right, let me go grab it real quick. Okay, I'm back. So, what guy did I build? I built Laser Fist. There was no time to paint, no time to prime. These were all just raw bits that we put together. But this is the dude I made. It's a Privateer Press body, I think. An old Chaos Warrior, Hunchback Chaos Warrior arm here. A old, like, Rotator, a second edition mech Power Fist, or Orc Power Fist from like a Mecha Knob, and then a Tau bit for a backpack. And then a Leagues of Votann helmet that just, it all came together. And yeah, I felt really good about this kit bash. The guy who sculpted the Cyber Savage miniatures, he really liked it as well. He said it looked like it was actually designed to be a miniature, more or less. So these are all Turek, the Cyber Savage minis, right now they're all 3D printed. So you get a blister pack full of a bunch of weapon options, a bunch of head options, and they're all 3D printed. You can also, I believe, get the STLs, or they may be available in the future, and then print them yourself. This miniature is just built out of a metal body, and then the rest of these pieces, except this is metal, these are all plastic. So this was all just super glued together. And so there's a couple different materials that miniatures can be made of. This guy is made out of plastic, and then some can be made of metal, especially if they're older minis. Others can be made of 3D printed resin, and others can be made of actually poured resin that's poured into a mold. So there's a bunch of different ways that miniatures can be created. Thanks, Tigran. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It was really, really cool. Okay, so now that I've got some of the collars down, I'm going to edge highlight this side here. Oh, that looks cool. Okay, so we've got it's because it's a power sword. He's got this lead here that kind of is the actual like power source for the sword. What did I do with him? What did I do? Oh, I did those as gold. Okay, so this little lead here that leads out and clamps onto the blade, that's actually the thing that powers a power sword. So I need to do that on this guy as well. And it looks like I painted him as non-metallic gold on these other two. So we're going to do the same thing here. And that's going to be super straightforward because it's such a small area. It's going to be super easy. Some sick colors happening. Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. If anybody has any questions or anything like that about miniature painting, or questions about like Warhammer lore or Necromunda lore or anything like that, let me know. I'm happy to design. I am no hood guard, but I know quite a bit about Necromunda. And that's not a game that Hoodguard covers, so might as well fill a gap there. But if you've got questions about miniature painting as well, then I'm happy to answer those as well. But yeah, if you like lore, if you like learning about like the stories behind Warhammer 40K, or other game that he's super into is Trench Crusade, which is an awesome game. I'm looking forward to painting those as well. Hoodguard is your dude. Hoodguard is the guy that you wanna watch his stuff if you're on TikTok. He is doing some stuff on YouTube as well, but he is the dude. And I have almost never seen anyone improve their painting in such a short period of time as him. He's been painting for a little over a year at this point, and he's already to like some competition level stuff. Not quite to Golden Demon, but it's really hard to get there. I'm certainly not there, but I would argue that he is at this point he is probably a better painter than I am at the moment, because he just spends just an massive amount of attention to detail, to learning and figuring out how light works, and he's just so patient when it comes to painting miniatures. He'll spend weeks painting a miniature on stream, a couple hours a day. He's incredibly dedicated to it, and he's just an incredibly intelligent guy and really kind. I met him at Adepticon. We're gonna hopefully hang out at next Adepticon. Really, really good dude. Really looking forward to it. Let's see. I use 3D printer to print my stuff, but the metal one, damn, CNC machine must cost a lot. Oh yeah, so they don't use a CNC machine to carve out the miniature. What they do is they the classic way to cast metal miniatures is to create a vulcanized rubber mold that is circular. So they have a mold that's circular, and it's the size of a dinner plate, right? And they either 3D print or use some other form of master miniature to create the mold itself. So let's, in this case, they 3D print it, they clean it up, get rid of all the layer lines, and then they'll print out a bunch of them, and then they'll set them up in a circle around the outside of this dinner plate sized puck of rubber, and then they'll put channels to each one of those to let the molten metal flow through this rubber mold. And so you'll have a ring of miniatures, and then they vulcanize that so it goes hard and it's semi rigid. And then when they are ready to cast it, they will they'll put it on a casting machine that spins this disc of vulcanized rubber, this mold, this 2-part mold, and then they pour the white metal into a hole into the center, and centrifugal force pushes all that molten white metal out into the cavities that the master molds created. So it's called spin casting. So if you look up Reaper Miniatures or Reaper Miniatures spin casting or spin casting metal models, you will see videos of that process. And it's a standardized process. It's a very old process that has been used for decades and decades, if not even longer. And it's fascinating. It's really interesting. But that's generally how they make metal models. Now, the CNC machines, those are used to create the molds for plastic injection molding, and those molds, those CNC machines have to be incredibly precise, and those molds that they create can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh, that's some sick colors happening there. Thank you. Do you airbrush or all brush? I do use airbrush every now and then, but I don't use it a whole lot on the finishing parts of miniatures, just because I want to really get better at all the hand blending. So it is a self-imposed limitation. There are plenty of competition painters who are much better than I, who use airbrushes in very delicate ways to create blends that I just can't even come close to matching right now. So it is something I will be doing. I will be working with an airbrush more often to create really delicate blends and the like. But right now, I'm still focusing on hand blending, hand painting as much as possible, because an airbrush is a wonderful tool. I use it for priming. I use it for adding varnish onto miniatures. I use it for painting. I use it for painting vehicles, things like that. But an airbrush by itself, the end result can be very, very flat looking. Even though it has gradients, things like that, it looks very flat. So, you should even if you're using an airbrush, you should also always use hand brush to kind of finish things off and do kind of like last minute stuff. I used to dislike pewter white metal as a miniature material, but I quite appreciate it. Yeah, there's big advantages to both. There's definitely things that I don't like about it, but then there's also things that I very much enjoy about it. So it's definitely not a one size fits all. This is good for every possible situation, but it's also not this just a horrible piece to use at all, or a material to use at all. So there's a lot to be said for the weight of the miniature in your hand. It feels really good. It feels hefty. And there's just something to be said for like the old school feeling of it. In fact, I have a lot of the old metal original Space Marines, but they came out in the late 80s. This is Brother Froth. Yeah, this is Brother Froth. He was one of a set of Marines that was released in the same year at the same time as the original Warhammer 40,000 rulebook was, and he's a full metal model. And then next to him, we have the first plastic Space Marine, who was released at the same time, but is not metal. Obviously, he's just plastic. I haven't done the chapter symbol on him yet, but these were both released at the same time as the original Warhammer 40,000 rule set was released. And yeah, you got your metal model and you got your plastic model. You can see how inconsistent a lot of the sculpting was. That also has to do with some of the limitations they had with plastic and casting plastic. Definitely much lower detail than metal. On old models, metal was far more detailed than plastic was. That guy's older than I. That's funny. Yeah, he came out when I was about 4, so I was born in the mid '80s. So I'm an elder millennial. Paint scheme is so cool. I cannot take credit for it. It is a paint scheme that was originally. It's based on the Rainbow Warriors from the original Warhammer 40,000. So they were a chapter that only existed in the very first Warhammer edition of Warhammer 40,000 because they were a political protest for a Greenpeace ship that called the Rainbow Warrior that was torpedoed by the French government, and a photographer who's part of Greenpeace died in the torpedoing. So it was kind of a political jab. But since then, a lot of people like the Rainbow Warriors because it's an interesting army that doesn't have a lot of lore. There's a lot of interesting, like, oh, what could they be? Are they Aztec? Are they centered around a world of light? Because their home world is still on 40K maps. It's called Prism, and it is marked as excommunicated traitores, or record deleted. So there's not a lot of understanding of what happened to them, so it feeds the imagination. And this color scheme is a modernized color scheme created by Louise from Rogue Hobbies. She was a presenter for Games Workshop, and she was one of their media painters as well. Not part of the heavy metal team, but a different group of people. But she really likes the Rainbow Warriors, and so she paints tons of them. And I've always liked the Rainbow Warriors, so I just stole her paint scheme. And a lot of people seem to be doing that, which I think is cool, because it looks great. I think it's a great looking paint scheme. Now, I don't go into the Aztec warrior type of lore for these guys, for my Rainbow Warriors. My Rainbow Warriors are a group. At the end of the heresy, when Guilliman was doing the original founding, this is kind of almost like a second or secret founding. It is made up of remaining Loyalist Thousand Sons and Ultramarines. So they're very psychic. They tend to be very psychic. Have a lot of librarians, things like that. Kind of like the Blood Angels, not the Blood Angels, Blood Ravens. And so they were given the world of Prism as their chapter homeworld after the original founding. And things happened, and eventually they were almost nearly destroyed. They were accused of being traitors because a lot of their psychic and gene seed origin, and they were almost completely annihilated. So they went into hiding. They became a space-borne fleet. They had to abandon their homeworld, but they gathered a lot of the crystals that exist on Prism because of the mineralogy there, and they found out that those crystals, while they were there, they found those crystals help harness psychic energy. So they used it as part of their force swords. They use that as their power weapons. They use it in their plasma-based weaponry, things like that, because it helps with psychic powers, but also it's just, you know, it's a part of their chapter history and their pride. So they're more or less a spaceborne chapter now, rather than one that is tied to a planet. Prism itself wasn't actually annihilated. They left before Prism was annihilated. So Prism is there and probably blockaded. And so now with the Indominus Crusade, they were sent by a secret benefactor. They were sent Primaris gene seed and new weaponry secretly through a few ships that were completely crewless and were just programmed to arrive at Prism or the outskirts of it, and the Rainbow Warriors detected it. They grabbed it, and now so they've got their Primaris abilities now with the wider Imperium. Still not entirely sure that they exist or not, but that's kind of my detail. Thanks. Yes, Prism is why the crystal swords. Yeah. Oh, we got ads starting on Twitch. Oh, fun. So that's why the crystal swords are there, because the crystal swords are remnants of Prism, their homeworld. Yeah, Rainbow Warrior is an old chapter. Absolutely. Actually painted up a Rainbow Warrior jump marine with a plasma pistol. There was a wrist-mounted plasma pistol. I painted one up for a guy that used to be on YouTube called Marnius Augustus Calgar. He was collecting Marines from a bunch of different painters on YouTube, and I sent him in one that I converted. I used a sanguine, most of a Sanguine Guard, one of the original Sanguine Guard kits, so it had the wings and everything. I converted the helmet to be an actual beak. It could actually had an actual beak helmet, and this is before any of the Raven Guard, any of the actual like beaked helmets came out. Not the beakies, the ones that are actually sculpted to have a beak in them. I believe one of the Raven Guard, is it Raven Guard? Not Raven Guard. The Dark Angel speedsters. They've got a guy who's got an actual like raven, like bird beak on his beaky helmet. This is before that came out, so I sculpted it out of green stuff. I painted him up. Used the proper Rainbow Warriors colors and everything. Because the Rainbow Warrior rainbow is blue, green, yellow, red, white in the middle. So it's I don't know what the significance of those colors are, but those are the colors that have always been associated with the Rainbow Warriors rainbow. Hey Pixel, what's that thing, bro? This is a Space Marine model. So if you have seen any of the video games, Space Marine 2, or any of the secret level episodes, the one with Space Marines, this is a model for the tabletop game that those things came from. And so I'm painting him up and talking about his faction's history a little bit, the headcanon I have for the faction history. And we're just chilling. Just chilling. We're testing things out. We're testing out a multi-stream setup and some new chat features. Just making sure that it all seems to be working, which it does. And right now, ads just ended over on Twitch, so appreciate everybody that stuck around for those. But yeah, I don't know how much longer I'm going to go for, but why not? We're having a good time, and I took these last 2 weeks of the year off from work because I needed to use up my PTO. So I am not in any rush. The only thing is I need to be done before D&D, and that's in a couple of hours. So we'll see how long we go. Let's see how long we do. Okay, so let's take our we've done our dark brown base, and because this is a cylinder, the highlight is going to travel down more or less with this small of a cylinder. It'll travel down the middle of that cylinder. So we're doing our ochre yellow there to do the actual color of the gold, and now I'm going to take a light yellow. And let's see, making sure that I'm lined up with this so the highlight's kind of shifted over here a little bit. So we're going to make the highlight right up in here. And in reality, this highlight would travel more up and down the entire length of this power of this lead, but I don't really want to. I want to leave some of the yellow there to make it look as much like gold as possible. So we're just going to do a little bit of highlight there. We'll wait for it to dry because it'll fade as it dries. And while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to add a little bit of a brighter highlight in this, just because this is striking me as just too plain yellow and not reflective enough. And because these are all its cylinders, the highlight is traveling in a straight line down the middle. And then these cylinders, because with a cylinder, the highlight travels down the long axis of this shape. It's going to shift over to that. So the highlight's going to look like this for these long ones, and then it's going to be this direction for the other ones. So you can see on the bevel, see how the highlight goes down the entire length of the bevel, the long axis of this cylinder. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to replicate. I think the Greenpeace ship is sinking is ringing a bell. That's wild that the French did that. Actually sunk the ship with the torpedo. Yeah, they sunk it at dock. Even and I believe they sunk it while it was at dock, and a Greenpeace photographer was killed in the incident. That's also why, if you look in the original Rotrator rulebook, there is, or at least my suspicion is, there is a picture of an early pseudo Adeptus Sororitas gunning down a Rainbow Warrior, and she's got the fleur de lis very prominent on her, which is why people say she's an Adeptus Sororitas. Because in original Rotrator, the Adeptus Sororitas didn't exist; they weren't a thing. The lore had not developed to that point. So in her, she has a name on her called Sister Sin, and she looks kind of evil, but she also looks kind of, she looks kind of imperial as well. So it is most likely a jab at the French government being called sinful. They are the sinners who gunned down the Rainbow Warrior. Yeah. Sister Sin, Rogue Ray. Yeah, let me show you the art piece here. Share screen. So this is the art piece that I'm talking about. So here we've got Brother Vermilion, And you can see that he's, because of the stripes up here, he is a Rainbow Warrior. Also, there's the Rainbow Warrior Winged Lightning Bolt over here, and he is what appears to be a lieutenant. And then we have Sister Sin here, who's got the fleur-de-lis, very prominent, and her name here, and she is gunning him down. So this is, if you know some of the history, this becomes a little bit more believable. Now, within the universe, within 40K, this makes it look like the Adeptus Sororitas are killing the Rainbow Warriors. So it's led to a lot of assumptions that the Rainbow Warriors did something that caused them to be declared as traitors to the Imperium, because Sororitas is killing one, and the Rainbow Warrior homeworld of Prism is still on Imperial maps. If you look at some of the maps of the Empire and all the planets there, it's still there, but it's called Record Deleted. So it is assumed that they did something naughty. Yeah, see, that's the thing. We don't really know, because the art was created before the Sororitas were even a thing, within the lore. So everything we're having to do is we're having to backfill. Is like, okay, we're assuming the Sororitas are here, are part of 40K, even though Rogue Trader didn't mention them. So we're backfilling. And how does she fit into there? Well, she might be a Chaos Worshipper. That's entirely possible. She's got a skull on her shoulder pad. She's called Sister Sin, but she's got the fleur-de-lis. And that skull is very similar to the same skull that librarians have on their shoulder pad. So it's not necessarily a Chaos thing. So that's where there's a lot of like, we don't really know what's happening. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people like the Rainbow Warriors, because it's like, we're not really sure what's going on. But it's interesting. Yeah. Just like real history. Yeah, exactly. Just like real history. It is messy. It is unclear. It takes a lot of study. And you know, the Rainbow Warriors have been mentioned in a few rule books, like the main rule book, that it was mentioned that they took part in certain crusades. But it's not mentioned what happened to them. So we know they were loyalists at one point, and they are still canon, but we don't know anything about them now. We don't know what they are doing. We don't know if they still exist. There is a short story, I believe, called Black Shield. I could be wrong. Of a Death Watch, a group of Death Watch Marines, and one of them is trying to guess at a Black Shield's original chapter, and he guesses Rainbow Warrior, but then it turns out that he's not. So like they're not unknown, but it is most likely that that something happened to them, and they're probably not an existent chapter within lore right now, because otherwise the guy probably wouldn't have been guessed that he was a Black Shield. But that's also possible that he may have just been like a personal failing. Who knows? But it was revealed later, I believe in the short story, that he was not a Rainbow Warrior. He was something else. Different chapter. But we know they exist. Found out my local GW store has been closed since November. The other closest one is 2 hours away. Oh no! Evil Kermit, that's awful! Why did they close? Do you have like regular, like non-GW friendly local stores anywhere near you? Man, that sucks. Exactly. Oh, that's not fun at all. Okay, so we're doing some non-metallic metal on his on the kind of the powered section of the blade here. Which is interesting because this area here, it looks like it's got heat vents down here, so this is obviously some form of either power source or transformer or something to help generate the power field for this sword. But the other models that I have later models of power swords. They do not have this. So here is a company Blade Champion, I believe he's called. He does not have that kind of anything with any kind of like heat sinks or anything like that. This is leading straight out of the handle. So these may be later versions of power swords that are a little bit more advanced, whereas this is an older power sword that is not quite as advanced. And that makes sense. Those other twos are Primaris Marines, and Primaris Marines tend to have more advanced equipment than even the Heresy Marines did during the Heresy, because Call is not afraid of advancing technology, which is why he's considered a heretic. He innovates. He makes things that are new, which is against the Machine God, according to the Machine Cult. Of course, he's like, no, it's not. That's stupid. The Machine God would not want us to be stagnant. Being stagnant doesn't make any sense because that doesn't glorify the Machine God. There's a fun little theological debate in some of his books. My wife bought me Necrons for my birthday tomorrow. Any tips on painting them? Yeah, sure. So the easiest way to paint Necrons is just paint them silver, give them a wash, and then start working on like the glowy bits, the green glowy bits, or whatever color you want to do them. So they tend to be very straightforward to paint. So I would start with a metallic. Whatever metallic you wanted. You could do bronze, you could do whatever color you want, you could do gold. There's no hard and fast rule because there are so many different types of Necrons and different dynasties of Necrons with different colorations. But what I usually start is when you're starting out, when you're building your model, clip out all the parts, and then make sure you're cleaning up the connection points from the sprue, so there's no bumps or anything like that. Clean up the mold lines, because the way you assemble the model, that's going to really affect the final product. If you assemble it with big gaps in it and things like that, no amount of paint is going to make that look better. So when you're taking the model out of the sprue, just be careful, take your time, clean everything up, and then dry fit. Make sure the pieces fit together before you use any glue. Set them together, make sure they fit okay, and then if they're not fitting okay, figure out why and resolve that. Maybe you need to do a little bit of carving, maybe missed a bit of sprue or something like that. Dry fit them and then glue them together. So dry fit them first, and then put them together, and then after that, make sure you use a primer, because primer helps acrylic paint to attach to metal and plastic models, and then just use a metallic to get most of the color down, and then do your other details after that. Just take things one at a time, break things down into simple steps. It's just going to make it much easier for you to tackle what can seem to be a very big project, right? And then as you get more used to it, and like it'll become more routine, it'll be much less overwhelming. But it's very easy for miniature making and even Gundam building and scale models. It's very easy for that to become incredibly overwhelming because there are so many steps to get to the end product. But break it down into small individual steps. That's the thing that's going to help the most, I think. And if you have any other questions, feel free to message me here on TikTok or pop into one of my lives and ask your question there too. That's perfectly fine. I'm happy to answer questions, or you can reach out to me on Twitch or even Instagram. I'm perfectly fine with that. We also have a Discord. If you have questions or you want to get feedback on anything, you can pop into the Discord and show it there. You do not have to stay. No one has to stay in the Discord. You can just pop in, ask your question, get your answer, and then leave. That's a-okay. But I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to help educate. I'm here to encourage as much as I can. Should I use the recommended paint colors for them? That's 100% up to you. Do you think they look cool? Or do you think something else would look cool? I know a lot of people that do completely different colors for them. Some people paint them not metallic at all. They paint them to be like they're like space ceramics or something like that. Some people bejewel theirs. I've seen bejeweled Necrons that were painted all kinds of pastel and really pretty colors with extra jewels on them. I've seen others that are painted that they're covered in dirt and moss and lichen and things like that. They just look like they just grew up out of a swamp. It is 100% up to you what you want to do and how you want them to look, and then you get to have your own story. The Discord link, it is in my TikTok profile. You'll see it in my link tree. I can't actually put a link in the TikTok chat because it doesn't respect links. Could use a metallic spray can primer, right? Then you can, yeah, absolutely. You could use a metallic spray can as well. Awesome. And there you go. It's also the Discord and the Twitch and Twitch chat as well. I need to figure out a timer and stuff for YouTube as well. That way the link goes over there too. Let's see. So we've got that sword. So honestly, does the sword, is it too busy? Is there, I feel like it might be a little too busy, and I gotta figure out what are some ways to, I think dark lining around some of these is gonna help with that. And this is something that helps. If you ever hear somebody talk about dark lining, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about taking a very dark color and painting very thin lines around details. And what that does is it creates a visual separation between each detail to help it pop away from the other details around it. It creates more visual separation is the idea. And that can help things to not read as so busy because things aren't blending together visually as much, especially if you've got something that's like maybe something that's gold and then maybe something else that's another bright color, but they're supposed to be different materials. Your eye will read those values and kind of blend them together, even if the hues are different. So if you add a little bit of shadow, it's almost like a drop shadow around some of these, it can help separate visually. It can help separate the different materials visually so that your eye isn't as overwhelmed and it looks clear. It looks more distinct from one another. Let's see. Should I look on Etsy for artificial-esque armor for a chapter master? I think, yeah, no, I don't know of anybody particular on Etsy, but yeah, you could absolutely, I've seen plenty of really cool Space Marine armor on Etsy. I've also used Pop Goes the Monkey, which is an independent reseller that who has a bunch of custom sculpts and custom bits like shoulder pads, things like that. You could check that as well. I don't know. I think they've got some cool artificer stuff. Etsy would not be a bad place to look. Absolutely. I've certainly got a bunch of stuff off of Etsy, but I don't know of anybody in particular, unfortunately. Let's see. I'm having a real butt cheek of a time trying to get a rust pattern to work. Okay. So are you using just like regular? Are you using like regular paints for this, or are you using like a rust product? Let's see. Where's my? Excuse me. Oh, there's Titus. I know I had an example mini that I could use for this, but I don't know where it went. Oh my God, where'd it go? All right, we're gonna use her here. You try to layer browns and oranges over metallic base, it just doesn't look natural. Yeah, so the way I do that is I use browns and oranges, just like you're doing, but I apply them using stippling rather than regular painting. Where are my... Not burgundy. Welcome. Make yourself at home. Hey, thank you so much for the follow over on Twitch. I appreciate that, Baldy Gnome and Evil Big Doof. I don't know why... Evil Big Doof, I don't know why it didn't give me that audio before. That's weird. And thank you all for the follows over on TikTok as well. Y'all are awesome. Okay, burnt sienna, and then that burnt orange. That's what I wanted. Dark umber, and then where's my orange? Orange, regular orange. That's close. Sorry, give me just a second. I will give you the way I do that. Do the rest really quick here. There it is. It's close enough. All right, so the way I do rust is exactly what you're doing. But I start out with a dark brown, and let's do it on the side of her shield here, okay? Do a dark brown, and then I use a makeup brush. You could also use an old, like a regular brush, and I stipple. I just stab with the tip. I would not use this with one of your nice brushes because stippling ruins a brush. So use either a makeup brush or a trash brush. Okay. So then I stipple that down with a brown, and I go all over it. And now, if you've got a metallic undercoat, you don't necessarily, you can leave some of the metallic showing around in certain areas, but you can also come back in and re-add some metallic. So I just did that really fast. I'm going to do it with I'm going to do it with one of my trash brushes here, just so you can see that a little bit better. So we just on a dark brown, you can barely see it. Then I take burnt orange. Oop, right there, burnt orange. So any kind of burnt orange. A lot of lines have a burnt orange. And then I use my other brush. And you see how the tip is just destroyed there. I'm just not worried about it at all. So this is really good for stippling. So I load it up with a little bit of paint here. And then on the paper towel, I just take a lot of that off. And see how random that looks? Because the bristles are not in any predictable pattern. And now I just boop, 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 boop. Let's get it down here at the bottom where water would run down a little bit. And I do go kind of heavy with this, but I don't go anywhere near as heavy as with the dark brown. And then I take orange, any kind of bright orange. I do the same thing. And I can be really light with this, and I can make it a lot more precise. So if I come down here, I was like, I want to add a little bit down in here. But the easiest way to do this is stippling rather than trying to do it with a brush, because your brush strokes are structured, right? That they are going to be restricted by the way your paintbrush, the way you move your paintbrush. So if you're using a brush stroke, it's going to follow whatever line your physical movement was, right? And then also any kind of paintbrush is going to have a predictable shape based on the amount of pressure you put on. So you want something more organic and something that looks more natural, which is why I use stippling. You could also use a sponging technique. A lot of people will add chips to their armor using sponging rather than stippling, and that's absolutely something you could do. And down here I can just come back in, and maybe if I think that something's a little too much, I can come in with my regular brush and my dark brown and add that in there. And then I can also add water runnels in the rust if I use my orange here. So I water down a little bit of orange, and then I just go right in the corner where I think water would gather a lot of that rust pigment, a lot of those rust particles. And I can just put that right in there to make it look like the water's been gathering the rust down into these little bits and pieces, these little ledges here. And so you could also do something like do little runnels of rusty water down, depending on how you want to do that. What do you have going? Okay, good. Well, I hope this is useful. If you have any trashy brushes, or if you have any makeup brushes, you can use that. You can also go to the dollar store or any cheap place and just buy some cheap brushes that you won't mind destroying. But this will absolutely, I think, get you a decent looking rust, and you can play around with this. I also use this same technique for slightly different, but I use the same general technique for verdigris on copper or brass or any of those. You just change the colors you're using. Good. If you try that out, let me know. Let me know if that works for you. I'd love to know. Love to know what your experience is. See, that's why I really like doing streaming, is because I get to share information. I get to share my passion for this hobby and what I've learned with other people. Because, man, when I started, okay, I'm almost 42 years old. I was born in 1984. The only thing that helped hobbyists was either other hobbyists or historical magazines or White Dwarf. Those were your resources for learning new things and improving. If you didn't have someone local, if you didn't have access to the magazines and things like that, you had to be super self-motivated to figure out how to improve. But now we have so much more access to so much more information that that it is just a joy to be able to share information. Thanks a million for the tip. Now I have to go strip this Forge Fiend armor bit one more time. Oh, no worries. Also, Brush and Banner has really cool tutorials on oxides, copper, and rust. Excellent. Thanks, Royal Paxton. Appreciate that. Yeah. So I do a whole 2-hour class on fast rust and corrosion at conventions, both local and the ones I travel to. That's a class that I offer at times. And it's basically that. We just did a really accelerated version of it. But it's that. It's walking people through the stippling process, why it works, what colors really work for different types of rust, what types of shapes would take rust in certain ways, and then using stippling to achieve those. And for me, the information in those classes is not why classes are useful. I mean, I will freely give almost every bit of information I give away in classes. I will give that away on stream or in videos freely, because that's not the point of classes. The point of classes is to have one-on-one feedback, to have that one-on-one interaction, get that feedback in real time. It's like, hey, I tried this is what's happening. And then, getting some feedback on that from the person while you're there and being able to talk to them. That is the advantage of classes, not the information. The information you should be able to get from all kinds of people, but having access to somebody and their time, that's what you're paying for in classes. And that's where I think the value of classes is. That's why all of my classes, it's almost always practical. We're always doing something. It's never just me sitting there talking to you, because I could just do that on stream. I could sit here and talk to you guys on stream and you'd get that same information. I don't do lectures. Not at this time. I haven't found a reason to do a lecture. I want to do stuff where you get to try things, and then we get to talk about what you're trying and why maybe we need to change a little bit, and to make sure, hopefully, you understand how to do that on your own. That's the point. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I want to do... where'd it go? There it is. I think this is it. Is on this guy, the lenses are not punchy enough. I want kind of glowy pupils or glowy eyes in here, and I haven't added those in. So we're going to take some light yellow. Can everybody see? Light yellow. Light yellow. Very, very carefully, very lightly. Ooh, see, I went too far. I'll clean off my brush, and then I'll try and wick some of that up with my clean brush. So if you make a mistake and the paint is still wet, you can quickly rinse out your brush, and then with the damp brush, you can often scrub that paint away, as long as it hasn't dried. So now we'll go back in. There's that. Okay, now we're gonna go over here. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry. And the reason I went really bright with that is because I'm gonna go over it with some oranges and yellows, just to try, get that to look more like it's born out of red. Put these down. This down. Okay, this time I'm going to use a bright orange, not just yellow. Have I taken, is this a brand new orange? It is a brand new orange. Sorry, I'm prepping something here. Okay, just getting this orange ready. Sorry for the dead time there. Okay, so now I've got some orange. I'm gonna make a really thin mix of this orange for the eyes. Then, because I've already got a pretty warm, pretty like bright color there, so I just want to tint this orange. So I'm not using a really dark, opaque color here. This is going to probably take a couple layers. So there, it's already looking more orange. We can go over here with some slightly more opaque orange and maybe make this blend in a little. Teeny bit more. Okay. Now we're going to take a bright yellow. I'm going to use a more opaque, well, quote unquote opaque version of bright yellow here. Try to make this more intense looking. Okay. So there's going to be some back and forth that I'm going to have to do here because it's not. I made it a little too stark of a transition from the red to the orange, and I don't want that stark of a transition because then it just looks like it doesn't look glowy. It just looks like a brush stroke. So I'm using some very, very thin down red orange. Basically a glaze of that, and I just want to fuzz the transition just a teeny bit. So now I need to let this dry. So I'm going to speed it up. I'm just use my airbrush and just push air through it. So it's the same kind of trick as you might use with a hairdryer, just no warmth. So with this small amount of paint, it'll evaporate real quick and set. Come back in here with some yellow. Make sure I don't have a ton on here. Try to make that look a little bit more intense. That's better. Let's compare him to the others here. His eyes are almost brighter than the other guys. Maybe I need to punch his eyes up, but that's okay. the Mark III power armor, or I'm sorry, is this, yeah, Mark II power armor. This is all Mark II. Mark II power armor just had a single lens. Let's take a look at my Chibi Marine here. It's very similar. With that intense red. I still think maybe I went a little too hard with this orange. Even with the bringing it back up. I think maybe it's a little too big. Just do a teeny bit. Just glaze this back a tiny bit. That's a little better. It looks kind of cross-eyed now, but that's okay. He's a Space Marine. They can look cross-eyed. Go through enough psycho indoctrination, you'll end up cross-eyed too. Oh, Lord of Rights, I'm so sorry. I didn't see your answer. I didn't see your question. Any recommendations for the last 225 points of my Raptors army? Run as Ultras. I already have the Calgar and Fate. I do not know. I don't play the game. Not anymore. I played the game in 5th and 6th edition. I have not played the game since, really. I think I played maybe one game of 7th, but since then I have not played Warhammer 40,000 at all. So I am unfortunately completely incapable of giving you any form of decent army advice. I don't even know what the points are anymore. I don't even know what the common point levels for games are. I assume it's still 1500, but I could be wrong. I know there's some new formats of the game out there, like Spearhead and things like that, which look cool, but just not. I don't play it. I just paint. I do play Necromunda. I have played Kill Team. I have played the old Kill Team. I've played Warcry. I play some other small scale games, but I don't play either any of the big scale games anymore. They're just not my jam anymore, so I can't even answer your question with any form of competence. I'd be guessing entirely. What about a Carnifex? It sounds like a Carnifex would fit. Yeah, sure, why not? Oh wait, that's the wrong army. I do know that much. It's not the same army. I know that. I have painted. I have iron golems. I have the jade dudes. I have the Dark Oath. For those are the three that I have for that are painted and built for Warcry. I run the Dark Oath a lot on our last campaign. The Iron Golems are fun. They're just so slow. Oh my god, they're so slow. The Jade Warband is awesome. I'm really happy with the way I painted them. But they're glass cannons. They seem to be very combo dependent. And I couldn't really get them to work. The Dark Oath guys, they're less glass jawy, and I was able to get them more or less to work. I'm just not a good gamer. On top of that, so take of that what you will. For Necromunda, I have Goliaths painted. I have Chaos Helot Cult painted. I have the last campaign I played Palanite Enforcers, and I printed.
Hi. It's good to have
That
you.
scared me. Thanks, Beardfish. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. And thank you for all the follows over on TikTok as well. There's no alert for that but I appreciate all of the follows and all of the likes and the favorites and everything. I really appreciate everybody for being here during this impromptu test that I should probably call an end to here pretty soon. Get ready for D&D. We'll probably do that in a couple minutes here. I printed out Helldivers heads when I had a friend who was the arbitrator print out Helldivers heads for the Palanite enforcers, and so I replaced all of their Jade Obelisk. Thank you. So I replaced all of the Palanite heads with Helldivers heads, and then painted them up all as Helldivers because the Palanite enforcers already had black and gold as their main colors. And it's like, those kind of look like Helldivers. I'm just going to call them Helldivers. I'm going to paint them up as Helldivers. So, did that. They're called the Fists of Liberty. Their war cry is Get Fisted. It was a lot of fun. I barely understood how to play them, but I definitely got a much better idea of how to play them the more into the campaign we got. And it was like a 12-week long campaign. So, towards the end, I felt pretty good about it. But I've got almost every Necromunda mini, unfortunately. And most of them are still in boxes. Just picking up Necromunda, building out an Orlok list to figure out what I need to model. Nice. Yeah, Necromunda is a lot of fun as long as you keep in mind that it is not balanced. It is not supposed to be balanced. It will never be balanced, and it is very swingy. As long as you keep that in mind, Necromunda's a blast. If you don't keep that in mind and you're expecting some form of balanced experience, you're going to have a bad time. Necromunda is not balanced. It's not. It will never be balanced. You cannot balance it. It's not built to be balanced. You are there for cinematic moments and tragedy and victory, and that is what you're there for. Yeah, it is heavily narrative focused, which is great. Oh! You mean this dude? This dude that apparently existed before the Imperium did? Yeah. The Divine Prince. Yeah, supposedly this guy in the current narrative arc, he woke up from a tomb that was buried on Necromunda from before the Imperium. So this dude is a human from prior to the unification of Earth, or at least prior to the Great Crusade. That is everything I know about him. I just got the book. I need to sit down and read the book so I understand more about him as much as I can. But yeah, he's crazy. He's very cool looking. Okay, so this is where we are with the Space Marine Lieutenant. I still need to do the white on his feathers, the white and the reds on his feathers, because I want to match this. I want to have white in the middle, so red, white, red, just to have that there. Actually, I should probably do it split. I should probably do it half and half, just like the rest of his signifiers. So these guys, the Rainbow Warriors, the way they do their signifiers, their rank signifiers, is on their elbow pads, their knee pads, and on the top of the back of their backpack. So pure red is just a regular brother. Regular brother. And then I believe I need to double check it again. I believe the what I wrote down was this is like a sergeant or a lieutenant. Pretty sure it's a lieutenant. I don't remember which rank insignia this was. I had it written down. I need to go back and I need to go back for it. But yeah, it's the elbows, the knee pads, and then the top of the backpack is, those are the rank insignia. And then you will notice that the chapter symbol's on the wrong shoulder pad. That is intentional because the original Marines all had they're all Mark 6 armor, so they had all these rivets here, so you couldn't put the chapter symbol there. So in Mark 6 armor, they put the chapter symbol on the other shoulder, and I just decided to keep doing that even for modern sets of armor or other sets of armor, just as a nod to that original, those original Beaky Marines. All right, we got an incoming ad break, so I'm gonna snooze it. Thank you, Bearded Fish. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're gonna head out. We're gonna be done with this test. So yeah, thank you all for sticking around. I very much appreciate it. Let's see. Everybody on YouTube, I know there's a couple viewers on YouTube right now. You're probably double viewing on both. Did YouTube sound okay? Did it look okay? I didn't see any major problems with it other than it's pretty heavily delayed. Yeah, it's delayed by like 30 seconds at least. Those chapters emblems are so freaking crisp. Thank you. These are 3D printed from Pop Goes the Monkey, and they are actual overlays. So you've got like a regular shoulder pad, like this guy, just regular shoulder pad. These are curved. They're printed on a curve. So you clip them out and then you glue them over the shoulder pad, and they become that embossed symbol there. So they're not painted, but they're not, it's not freehand on some of these. Some of these it is freehand, like the older models, it's freehand. But yeah, it's really cool. They got a bunch of them for Death Watch and just about every chapter out there. Okay, so it looks like everything's doing well. Cool. Well, our official stream is tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be streaming again. I'll be doing all the things. This is the guy we'll be working on. We'll be continuing to work on this Veil Touched from the game Ravaged Stars by Mini Wargaming. Yeah, we're gonna keep working on him. We're gonna try and get him a little bit farther. Probably work on some of the demon possessed bits, things like that. Get those colors in there. But this is what we'll be working on tomorrow and Friday, and then when we get him finished up, then we'll be moving over to other things. I do have Warhammer Underworld's Warhammer Quest Darkwater. I am assembling all those models. I've got most of them assembled over here. I do want to paint those. I just need to find a basing process that I want for them. So those will be painted on stream. We've also got the Cyber Savage minis that we need to paint on stream as well. So that is all coming up. We've got lots of stuff to do. But yeah, I'm also on vacation until the 5th. So I may do more pop-up streams in the day when I'm bored. Make yourself at home. So appreciate y'all being here. I'm going to go ahead and end the TikTok stream. Thank you all so much for being here on TikTok. I appreciate you. We will see you hopefully tomorrow. If not, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Take it easy. All right. Twitch and YouTube. Well, I need to finish the YouTube one too. Twitch, we are going to go find someone to raid to. Is anyone on? Yeah, okay. Let's see. Let's go raid Monument Hobbies. I never get to raid Monument Hobbies. Are they still doing stuff? Oh well. Yeah, they're still going. Okay, go. All right, we're gonna go raid Monument Hobbies. Thank you all so much for being here today. I very much appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your holiday or Christmas week, depending on what you are celebrating. Take care of yourself this week. Don't get too crazy or anything like that. Take care of your mental health. Do what you need to do to do that. And then until tomorrow or until Friday or until the next time we meet, remember the painting is good for the soul. Have a good night, everybody.
You see my face enough today. Sorry, I'm over here talking. You could hear me from the other microphone, but I forgot to. I'm just a disaster. It'd be amazing if he was here the whole time. He's not. I'm sitting in the chair turning the camera on and off, but it won't do. Oh my god, are we getting a raid? I'm about to go away. No! No! Don't do this to us! I'm not staying. I'm not staying. I'm done. Done. I'm finished and done. We're gonna find somebody to raid and pass it along to. Thanks everybody for showing up though. Said, we'll go see Dr. Rhino. Who just raided us? Who just raided us? Useless, what's going on? Useless! Good to see you, man. Sorry, I'm the talking head. I'm over here at Chris's producer chair because we just got finished. Picking up some conquest. Thanks very much for the raid. If you're here, make sure to hit the links. I'm going to do the Discord link. Or is it exclamation point Discord? I don't remember what he does here. Yeah, look at me. Haha, I got it. Chris better watch out. I'm coming for his job.